The title of the content is what are four of the top AI CEOs saying about the future of AI. So we will dive into that first section of this week's episode. Then we will recap what happened in Q1 in construction technology, talking about what we discussed on Bricks, Bucks, and Bytes, and maybe there's a few topics there that we will go a little bit deeper on. At the end of today's show, we will have Anna Berger from Trade, who they just announced yesterday, I think, a $10 million Series A, which she raised in just 3 weeks, according to a post on LinkedIn, which I saw before this episode. So excited to go there. And then there's also been some more acquisitions and fundraising, which we will get into. So welcome back. We were not here last week. I hope you all had a fantastic week. Okay, shall we go into this GTC stuff? And as we get into this, it will make more sense as to why we are covering this. So is everyone here familiar with what NVIDIA GTC is, first off?
I'm not.
I am not. Please explain.
It's a global AI conference.
That explains it.
Makes sense.
There you go.
GTC?
I don't know why. GTC must mean something. I didn't go into that level of detail. Maybe someone can Google it quickly and find out what the GTC means. But yeah, and there was a video there from All In Podcast where they interviewed 4 AI CEOs, one from CoreWeave, who make GPUs, Perplexity. Everyone, I think, will know what Perplexity is. Mistral. I must admit, I've never gone into Mistral too much, but from my very brief research on this, they create AI, but very specific to the enterprise versus the consumer. And then Iren, spelled IREN, who are a public traded data center company. And there's been so much talk in the construction industry. We've covered it a few times on here. We've been covering it tons on Bricks and Bytes, other content as well. About AI infrastructure, i.e. data centers, and how that's impacting the rest of the construction industry and everything that comes with that. So I think it will be an interesting topic for our audience to dive into.
It stands for GPU Technology Conference. So GPU is Graphics Processing Unit. So it's Graphics Processing Unit Technology Conference.
Acronym.
Oh, so they could have called it GPTC. That would have been a little GPUTC.
Yes.
Thanks for that. Well, that would have been a bit of a tongue twister. One thing I've noticed about artificial intelligence and the content and stuff that goes into it is I don't think the language has quite caught up with the technology. Like a lot of it is still very cryptic and difficult to understand. So you have to do a lot of your own reading and research to understand. Does anyone else find that?
What was the question?
Whether you think that the talk of AI and the technicalities and GPUs and semiconductors,
Like everything,
whether it's a little bit too technical for people to understand versus the ease of the technology that this technology creates is to use. So the large language models and so on.
Fully agree.
No one else feel that?
For them, it's
Yes.
like day to day. So, yes.
Okay, let's go into this. All right, CoreWeave. So this is so as I mentioned, 4 CEOs and 4 of the key takeaways. Then we'll go into the data center angle on this. So CoreWeave CEO, he said that the cost of 1 million tokens has dropped from $32 to 9 cents. I don't know what that is as a multiple, but so this is quite significant. And AI is lowering the barrier, so anyone with a good idea can build something that didn't exist before. And his quote was, "You're bringing 8 billion people a tool that allows them to overcome what was insurmountable forever for humanity." Agree? Disagree?
Insurmountable is probably the wrong description.
Patrick?
No real opinion. Sorry, if you wanted a juicy take, I need a different statement.
No stress. Martin?
So you said that 1,000 token went down to a certain price, right?
A million tokens.
Million,
So it was $32.
Okay.
Now 9 cents.
So what is everyone fighting for? in this business for if the price of tokens is going down. So what everyone will be doing in the end of the day, selling tokens, or how people will differentiate themselves. If the price of a utility, so it feels like, is going down so drastically, then
I don't know.
What's this game about?
So you guys are hearing this, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
I think there's some background noise.
Who is this?
That's
No worries.
Dustin.
There's no background in my.
No? Okay, let's move on. I don't think
I'm
we
not-
had anything interesting to say on that point.
I thought you were
perplexity-
saying, Patrick, you're hearing this as in what Martin's saying.
Oh.
No. Martin. No, Martin makes a good point.
Yeah, that's a good question. We'll leave this open to the imagination. Perplexity. Does anyone remember? Like, I don't know,
Wait. So Core Weaver is suggesting from $32 per token to
Yep.
9 cents. So we're talking roughly 2 orders of magnitude of cost depreciation.
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel
for a
like
million
I've heard-
tokens.
Well, whatever. It's still 2 orders of magnitude cost depreciation. A little less, but close. That doesn't feel right. I don't know where that data point's coming from. So that's interesting. I mean, over what time gap, I guess. Certainly hasn't happened in the last year.
I think maybe the point is that the tokens just keep getting cheaper. So the outcome that we can provide because of a lower cost of things is getting bigger, is getting greater.
I mean, I
Yeah,
would
but
like to ask them if that comes with or without positive gross margin.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's
Good question.
Does that also include the cost to train the new models, which impact the gross margins because you're in an arms race? And so
I don't think that's what they include there. No,
they wouldn't include that cost.
Okay, perplexity. So perplexity went on a bit of a strange cycle. I think that when there's large language model based tools started coming out, they were like right up there. It seemed to have stepped back into the build mode, for lack of a better term, and are focusing on slightly different things. And their CEO, Aravind Srinivas, he is saying that models are now specializing, not commoditizing, and different models are better at different tasks, even with coding. And the future of AI is as the operating system itself, where you give objectives rather than specific instructions. His big bet is helping small businesses run almost autonomously using AI, turning solo entrepreneurs into million-dollar operators with a Mac Mini and Perplexity's personal computer product. I don't know. I don't get this like whole Mac Mini vibe and people building and creating stuff in their sleep and they're running 24/7. I don't know. Maybe I just haven't looked into this thing enough. But are people building useful stuff by doing this?
Hey, I want to hire people that have already bought a Mac Mini and gone down the OpenClaw rabbit hole. I want to hire those people. If you've done that and you want to join a good tech company, come to Edify.
Why?
I think that intellectual curiosity is a good signal for amongst many signals right now.
Patrick, do you know anyone that's done anything useful with one of these?
I mean, not to the extent that Anthropic is projecting, because I think that's literally a bold bet on the future. I can understand why that bet can pay off. I can also understand how it can pay off in a specific part of the market and that part of the market would be very, very large. My brain tells me it's not going to be as transformative as perhaps the vision needs to be presented for, say, across society, across business, etc. But I do think it will. I can understand why someone believes in a part of the market under that scenario being influenced by it, being operated by it, etc. So yeah, that I can see. But if you then extend it to, okay, what would happen to the enterprise with that? Would the enterprise get competed away, or would the enterprise be significantly transformed in how it does that? So that's where I wouldn't buy into that type of a scenario just yet.
Martin, I think I could see something happening in your business where you have something like this running 24/7, just doing structural calculations and just issuing them to customers, and you getting paid like on a continuous cycle forever, infinite.
Please don't do that, Martin.
I mean, I think the key point here is that, like I say to everyone I work with, that as an engineer, like a base layer of what you do is the correctness of what you do, and there's no question. You have to do things correctly. Okay, how you deliver stuff, how you communicate with people, how are you making sure that people do what you ask them on site, or clients behave in a certain way. That is different level. So I don't think, even if I run something 24/7, there's this human part, or emotional, I don't know, intelligence. I feel like it's difficult to be replaced. So yeah, but for some task, of course, yeah, that's like lots of software right now that you can run, and it does a lot of calcs for you, so it saves a lot of time. But yeah, the human part, it will be still very, very relevant for a long time. What he said, something interesting that I took note of. The models are optimizing, not commoditizing, which I think it's a marketing way of trying to sell the people that specialize in developing models is going to bring a great, I don't know, efficiency. The previous CEO said that the cost of tokens collapsed from like 2 orders of magnitude. So these are kind of two statements which contradict in my view, because the price, clearly these models are becoming more commodity rather than like singularities that solve particular problems, and no one else can solve these problems.
Yeah, and I would add, so I'm seeing that happening. The specialization is happening, and I'm sure lots of our listeners are seeing the same thing. So the models are specializing, because that's where the companies want them to go, and where they funnel efforts and resources into specialization. I will just point out, and that is not a dig at it. I'm just pointing out you can specialize something that is not particularly valuable. So you can build the most specialized tool for anything, but actually the incremental value over what, let's say, a less specialized tool is doing is perhaps not there. Perhaps it is. I'm just pointing that out. That's the thing to observe. So whether they specialize or not is not the definition of commoditization. Whether they, but the value, the incremental value over the previous version, or the less specialized version, that incremental value is what determines it.
Yeah, I mean, you see all these the specialized or vertical, like legal AI tools, and for the life of me, I can't find where the incremental value is going to come from, because if you use ChatGPT, it's going to be able to resource every court case that has ever been issued, pull up that, reference it. You're still going to want to so you're still going to have a human in the loop. So I'm curious where, like, use cases like those where someone goes, I need a specialized language model for language. I'm like, isn't that what an LLM already is? So what exactly are you doing? Oh, we're building workflows on top of it. I don't see that worth it.
So this is a funny coincidence. I actually asked a law firm that I've been working with for a while. I was in their offices on Monday, and we had, in between readings, we had, by the way, English-speaking law firm, and I asked them, hey, so how do you use AI? And so I happened to speak to like the junior partner, senior associate, I don't know, that was very tech adoptive, and he was leading also part of like the internal practice that was pushing AI forward, etc. So he was very adoptive. He said, for me, I use two. I use, in their case, Legora. They decided against Harvey. and I'm using ChatGPT. I said, okay, so how do you use them differently? I said, okay, so I'm using ChatGPT more for the process management part, for more generic type of work that, you know, any other perhaps freelancer or project manager, etc., would use it. And Legora, however, he says, when it comes to generating language for extremely specific, let's say, clauses and considering court cases, outcomes, rulings for that specific language, he says GPT is not good enough. Now, I didn't want to argue with him and say, well, GPT, you could have just went with Claude, but at least between the two of them, that was something that he was feeling quite strongly about.
Yeah, but that's like probably like how better is it? 2%, 1%, 0.5%, and that's what I think that people will be marketing stuff saying that this is specialized software platform for X, right? X activity, and the difference between this specialized versus the more generic one will be so little that you can't really point out the difference. Yeah. For 95% of the cases that will be required to use this. I'm not talking about, you know, very, very specialist situations. Maybe yes.
I think
and quick side note on that one, by the way. Sorry, before you go, just because we're on this topic. I mean, I'm sure folks have also read this, but there's this funny debate going online. Hey, VCs have valued Harvey, Legora, and others at like, I don't know, 15 billion or 20 billion, and the overall software market size for this is like 2 to 4 billion. So it's literally a bet that they can replace their law firms. This is literally a bet.
Yeah, so Patrick, that actually ties very nicely into my next point. I sent this to you in the WhatsApp that just before we start recording here, and there was I'm sure a lot of people have heard of Lenny's podcast, Lenny's newsletter, one of the biggest newsletters in existence on the internet. And he released a graphic here which shows that there's the highest amount of engineering jobs currently on the market since the release of ChatGPT back in just after ChatGPT. So what happened was ChatGPT launched, the number of software engineering jobs went down, and since then we are now at the highest point. So what the graph is showing here, and I'll put this in the notes, is that the number of jobs, despite everyone talking about LLMs, AI taking software engineering roles, etc., is actually increasing. The number of available roles is increasing. So
so just to point that out, it's not the engineers in employment, it is the job openings.
That's different.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Thanks for clarifying. But it's the antithesis to everything that everyone has been saying about how jobs are at threat, and
well, this also could be a signal that a lot of people are realizing they have a lot of infrastructure work to be ready to use AI. I mean, you think about construction, and especially what I do in pre-con. You can't use AI. Actually, I'm putting a blog out about it right now, but there is no cost infrastructure that helps you understand pricing a project to like start training a model. You end up with a schedule of values that have a bunch of quantities, and the files are over here, but you have no tool that tells you all the decisions that were made along the way in one system that has one uniform cost structure. So a lot of companies are probably realizing a lot of their software applications aren't ready. They need to stand up an MCP. They need to create, maybe companies are looking to create new data architecture. There's just a lot more work to be done if you even want to leverage AI. So it could be one of those things where you see this spike and like, we need more resources if we ever want to unlock us. And then it pulls back down because, now we've unlocked a lot of value, would be my guess. So yeah, I actually think we're going to need more engineers.
And it continues.
Or it goes the other way. We just keep.
Yeah.
But I would bet on you're going to see a spike in the number of engineers, and then you'll see that come back.
Yeah, the arena is to play out.
These large companies have so much rework to do in order to be able to, like, I won't say some of the companies specifically. Some of these companies haven't even started using Claude in how they develop software.
So are we, by the way, implying, because I'm actually in agreement, are we then implying that software engineers are the better vibe coders?
Yeah.
I think so.
Of course, they're the better vibe coders because you always are still going to do QA QC. That's actually becoming the choke point on a lot of product. It's you vibe code this, and then you need to do quality control and review a PR before you push to production.
But only if you don't use Mac Mini.
It's going to be my Christmas gift to all my employees. Mac Minis. Go vibe code.
Not just one, 5 each. At least 5.
Well, you need a separate Mac Mini for each one of your AIs. You don't
Why
want
do
to
you need the
corrupt each
device?
other.
Why do you
I
need
mean,
a
it
device?
sounds almost like it would be really nice to be producing Mac Minis and then benefit.
And at the
from
end of
this
the day, Apple is just getting bigger.
That is so fascinating. No?
Why do you need a device to generate something? What's the reason for this?
Oh man, you're asking the question we were trying to answer. Okay, shall we move on? Because I think that Dustin, you are like this one, the next one. This is from Mistral. It's an Arthur Mensch. They're a French company, I think. Mistral. Yeah. So AI for enterprises is effectively what they do. Very simplistic definition, explanation there. But what he's saying is that the real unlock is connecting AI to decades of proprietary enterprise data, factory sensors, financial systems, physical infrastructure, etc. They also are big advocates of open source, which he has made a few comments on, and that the agentic future will requires governance, access controls, and observable deterministic processes. Wow.
Deterministic processes is very important.
I find that statement sexy.
Yeah, it's very true, and that's what a lot of people, especially in our industry, are overlooking. In all enterprises in general, for the most part, want deterministic outcomes. And Patrick's talked about it many times. You can't have 1 + 1. We are confident 99% it equals 2. What does that mean?
Yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah. You can use language models to get 95% of the way there, but then you need to codify that in deterministic outcomes.
Yeah, this raises a question though.
But that's
like assuming.
I mean, think about engineering, Martin.
That's fine. Go on. Man.
I was going to say just one point quickly. People want 100% deterministic answers, yeah. But assuming that the AI is doing the job that the human was doing, was the human always 100% right, like deterministic? Never, in my view.
No.
So because it's a software and a tool, you can blame the software and a tool, but because it's a human, maybe you'll accept the fault because like these people have feelings and laws.
At least in America, think about the litigation. You know, the autonomous driving is proved to be like 10x safer than a human. It probably is better than 10x safer, but there's lawsuits every time one of them's in an accident. So the bar, right, wrong, or indifferent, is higher.
But I think this also points to different jobs or tasks that, you know, if you want to think about like Tayloristic philosophy of how jobs should be split up, there are certain parts that there is a right answer to the inputs that you're giving into the job, and then there's a bunch of them that are creative or that are having so many assumptions that you literally have to test and iterate, etc. If it's the former job, it should not be probabilistic. It should literally be, okay, here's an engineer, here's a formula, this is how the formula ought to be applied, now apply the formula. Whereas if it's the latter, as in, hey, what is the correct ICP for my company? That in itself doesn't have a correct answer. So I need to go out and iterate and redefine and iterate and redefine and test. So for the latter, AI has probably the highest impact of, you know, it generates more throughput, for example. Whereas for the former, this is where my critique comes mostly. If you put that into the context of Arthur Mensch's statement, so he's not just saying, hey, the AI should be deterministic. That's not what he's saying. He's saying, if I understand it correctly, Owen, the governance around it and the auditability of where the results come from, because you have these different types of tasks, that's what's required in the first type of job, in outcomes that are extremely critical, and perhaps in complex organizations like enterprise. And if you give me now a tool that is always probabilistic, and I can't fully audit how we came to this result. And by the way, the more Mac Minis you deploy and the more 24/7 you let them run and no one actually looks into what's going on, the less observable it becomes how it actually came to that solution. So I find that very sexy statement.
Like when you guys speak, my question here would be like, who are we, who is using this AI that it needs to be 100% correct? If we're talking about, let's say, doing
or engineer, no?
Wait. If we're talking about creating a software for large projects, large contractors, large architectural engineering firms, you 100% need to be super correct, and you have to justify how you came to certain conclusions, right? Now, when we talk about majority of construction volume, small, medium, little projects, whatever it is, people don't need that. People don't need to be super 100% correct in terms of quantities or whatever they're doing. So I think for the like a key project, when you design a platform for large contractors, architects, you have to be 100% super correct. But if your customer is perhaps someone who is not professional, you don't have to be.
I think that it has something more to do with the AI has no way of knowing how bad their mistake can be. Where a human, let's just say I estimate a project and I miss a scope, like I would know it if I was off by orders of magnitude instantaneously. And if you just said, hey, AI, price this project, and it came up with, it's $1 billion, $10,000, they're just like, well, that's what I came up with. Like, I don't know, if they see an image and they're like, and it's an image of a cat and they call it a pink elephant, like, okay. Like, so it's also the randomness of just, there's no way to define what, it doesn't look at the outcome and then reason, this is crazy town. Now you can recycle these things and hopefully eliminate all the hallucinations, and there's methodologies to get around some of these things. But I think that fear also, we still deal with humanity. And there is something about an engineer stamping a document and saying, I'm standing by my work. And there's something about, I'm buying not just the project, but I'm buying the company that's standing behind it. And I think that that's a long time to erode that ingrained perception that we all have. I mean,
yeah, and for like a purchasing decisions, or like when you are about to spend money on something, you have to have someone who will certify it, sign it off. But imagine a nurse, and she or he has a proposed drawings for the new house that they want to build, yeah, and she or he drops all of those into a ChatGPT or Gemini, and says, please assess the cost to build this at this address, blah blah, and she will get an answer, right? I'm sure it is much more accurate answer than if she or he went outside for a walk and wonder how much this is going to cost. Yeah, so and it will be pretty accurate to a certain level. Yeah, and it
so
will
Martin, I propose to you an even more radical, and not just to you, to all of you, a more radical thought experiment. So think about, you have three options when boarding your next flight. You can board one airplane, which is today's setup. You have an autopilot plus two pilots. And an autopilot is not AI. Okay, an autopilot is a control system which uses mathematical formulae in order to determine how the airplane ought to behave. Next to it, you have a fail-safe mode, which is two pilots. And usually the pilots should know when the autopilot is malfunctioning, etc. But there have been cases, of course, where that wasn't the case. Yeah. So that's the first plane you can board. The second plane you can board is the plane replaced the autopilot with an AI equivalent, and there are two pilots. And then there's a third plane that you can board, which is AI without pilots. Which plane are you guys boarding?
I'm not touching the third one.
First one. I'm definitely going in the first one because this is like what we're used to. Yeah, this is like,
I probably will go
like-
to the second one.
Interesting.
I would
So on his
definitely only
first-
board the first one. I mean, this is back to this is where I always had a problem with people that were these blockchain enthusiasts. Oh, you can send money everywhere. The reason you couldn't send money everywhere has nothing to do with technology, you idiots. It has to do that we have laws and security around fraud. Morons.
Patrick, what plane are you
morons.
boarding?
I'm boarding plane 1 until someone is able to either logically explain to me or show me the data that the autopilot is inferior to the AI system. But I'm definitely not boarding the plane without the failsafe, because why would I? The stakes are way too high. You know, it's unnecessary, and the cost saving is also not very high.
I mean, Patrick, there's also, and this will never be eliminated. This is going to get into a little physics, but cosmic rays can have disruptions into the computer hardware, which can disrupt the AI. And that's why the plane can still operate on mechanical systems alone by pilots. So you can literally have a cosmic ray switch a 1 to a 0 on a transistor, and the pilot needs to take over because the computer just isn't working.
So now that I know that, I'm definitely not boarding plane number 2.
100%.
So for me, I would be open to plane number 2, but I would first have to understand either logically or through, proof in the data that the autopilot is better than the control system with mathematic formulae that has brought us through the entire 20th century. And the different, and again, what is the incremental difference between the two? The discussion that we had earlier, right? I mean, the autopilot is a very specialized system. You couldn't use it for anything else. How do you really make it better with AI? Maybe someone can, but then it has to be in the data or in the logic. And right now, I would have to understand why that would be the case. Until then, I'm boarding plane number 1 too.
Probably never would be, right? Because it's all math, how autopilot is.
So that's the point, right? So do you really need creativity in your autopilot? Do you need it to do things that it has never encountered? Probably there are situations like that. That is probably what the FAA does find. But do you also want the randomness of the probabilistic approach in the situations that you have already encoded in rule-based system? I don't think you want that randomness there. So that's sort of what I'm trying to point out here is once I can be deterministic, I should be deterministic.
I want to pose one last question to you all and the audience here. Is if you are so there's this post on LinkedIn about a company that had claimed that they were 90% plus accurate on certain AI review on documents. Is 90% accuracy on, like, say a scope where scopes don't align with each other? One document says one thing, another document says another thing. Is 90% accuracy good enough if you as a human without the tool were not aware of this issue altogether? So with the tool has made you aware, but it's only 90% correct. Without the tool, you knew nothing about it, so you're going to get stung by it anyway, and it's 100% of your problem and going to cause you issues down the line. What do you have an answer, or do we just want to leave this to the imagination of the people?
I know what post you're talking about.
If you say, go on.
Go ahead.
I was going to say that if you're going to sell your tool to a non-professional, okay, who is not going to put dollars behind the decision and you just want to find out something in a very quick way without engaging tons of people and spending a lot of money on them, and 90% accuracy is good enough, then go for it. But if you're selling to a professional firm, that is rubbish and should never happen.
So that post, I did not comment on it. However, I would never have published that post as it stood and was written because it left too much to the imagination. If every single, it was referring to RFIs.
If every single RFI is 90% right, I don't know what that means. It sounds like you just built a bunch of busy work, and that would piss off the partners on that job. If it's more of part of a curation flow to detect things, and the things you detect 90% of the time are actually RFIs that need to be asked, that actually seems like a value add to the project, because and now the person is reviewing what you're suggesting to them. So I think that it could be both positive and negative. The way it was positioned in that post left ambiguity, to say the least, which is why I never would have used that language to define that product value. But there is a world where you would just be generating a bunch of shit, and then you would never have an architecture or an owner want to use you again. There's a world where that would really help the coordination process.
That's a great point. I love it.
But the positioning statement was not good.
Yeah, I'm still curious if 90% solving of a problem you never knew you had is still good enough. People should let us know.
You can't sell something like that to a professional, because professional, they will sell it to someone else, and whatever they are selling needs to be 100% correct. Yeah. So this just doesn't make sense. But like Dustin said it nicer, the positioning wasn't correct.
Okay, shall we go to Iron? Anyone heard of Iron before this discussion?
Of course.
Yeah. Iron, you guys, they are now doing the data centers, right?
Yeah. Okay. So
what were they doing 5 years ago? Just check.
Bitcoin, yeah.
Yeah.
And same with CoreWeave. I think they were building GPUs for mining Bitcoin. I'm sure that was the case.
Do you see where the bubble is?
Yeah.
So is the CEO Michael Saylor?
No.
I don't know. Since I sold all of the stock, I don't know.
I would really love to see that company's balance sheet and how many liabilities they have,
hey,
how leveraged they are.
Guys, neither of you here were this person that put this mystical bet on the oil prices just before Trump made the 15-minute that post 15 minutes later, right? Are you aware of this? Okay, so this must have just been UK news. But just before Trump made an announcement on Monday that that they were pushing for a peace deal or whatever, someone put I think they either shorted the price of oil or they put a bet on the price of oil, and I think that they made some astronomical amount of money as a result of putting that money in like the hundreds of millions.
His son.
And then 15 minutes later, Donald Trump makes the announcement, and this guy banks however much.
30 million. I think it was his son, the junior or something.
Okay, so I just wanted to clarify there was no one here.
I mean, it could frankly be anyone in the U.S. Congress trading gang that is, the most prolific investors on the planet.
Okay, let's move on quickly. So Iron is an Australian-founded, publicly traded data center company. And what the CEO, Daniel Roberts, of this company said is that demand obviously shows no signs of slowing. And efficiency gains will not reduce demand. They'll simply amplify it. Jevons paradox, which I think you've probably heard of. So when an AI image generation drops from 2 minutes to 5 seconds, people won't generate fewer images. They'll generate vastly more.
Look, I really, sorry. It's not about this guy's statement. It could be right. It could be wrong. The problem is, we don't know which one, because we can't trust the intent. So I mean, am I going to trust that the best weatherman is the guy that sells umbrellas? I'm certainly not. They will shout at me that it's raining soon. So honestly, once economic interest is involved, I'm not going to listen to predictions of the future.
To your point, Patrick, I watched something yesterday, and someone was saying, he's a sociologist, and what he was saying was it's the first time where he has watched content all over the internet about these so-called AI experts, and he watches every single one of them, and he says, you're right. you're right, you're right, you're right, you're right. Like no one knows, everyone's speculating, and everyone just seems to say clever shit,
Yeah.
and everyone's like,
Yeah.
yeah, you're right.
Yes.
State of the internet. Yeah.
What was
Love
the
it.
news here that there was image creation was kind of time of a
He
drop?
said that but so as AI and the models become more efficient, this won't reduce the demand that people have for these tools. It will actually increase the demand. So if it takes 2 minutes now to generate an AI image, when in fact it then becomes 5 seconds, people will generate more, not less images.
I don't know. I think like what's the purpose of generating the image? Because I don't usually like go on the internet and generate images if I don't have to. So like
You
what's
see what happened to
use
OpenAI
case?
this
What's
week.
the use case? Yeah.
Martin, then text messages become way more fun. You can generate any Giphy you want. I mean, just think about the power. Just generate images. Take your
Actually,
friend's face
any
and put them
GIF
on anything.
would be fun.
Okay.
We're gonna really improve society.
Yeah. Sounds to me like kind of the NFT thing when, you can now have your own piece of your own artwork. People were saying, like, what was the purpose of this? Like, what do these images do?
Well, I do think if you play around with image generation, some of like the tools around prototyping, like you can make requests that take actually a long time, and I think a lot of people do to get discouraged when they're sitting there waiting for it. It's actually, I think, one of the reasons why you're running, 5 different Mac Minis at home. Then have one run, one just gets done. Just sending it to different locations.
I'm not sure that this makes sense actually.
It doesn't. I mean,
I think it's comparable to like for what this guy's saying is like, say you're trying to generate images and like you have a choice of like 3 or a choice of 100. Like that doesn't make life easier. Like so when you go to a restaurant, if you have 5 things on the menu, like it's dead straightforward. Well, you've got to pick, like you've got 5 choices. When there's like a menu, you go and it's like 3 sides of A3 paper and you're just flicking them trying to find. It takes you like, I don't know, 30 minutes to pick something.
Yeah, but the iteration process. So you start with a general image and then you're trying to iterate on the details, which is what designers typically do. Well, no. I mean, there's a level of creativity, right? But it's what designers are typically doing. You start with like a low fidelity wireframe or prototype now, and then you're worried about the nuance and details. And so if you can generate images more quickly, you can work through those faster.
I think you're just trying to.
I'm thinking in terms of
value
product
of your Figma
development.
stock.
God, it tanked like 30% because Google released Stitch.
Oh, really? Where is it? Where is it now?
Basically back to my cost basis. Google releases Stitch and it just goes down. I'm like, oh, I'm back to even. Sweet. Wait till next earnings report. It's like earnings didn't matter.
We're creating a good story here about
Dustin's trading portfolio.
Yeah, Dustin's Figma stock, which is just be an ongoing through line for a story here. Okay,
so maybe I was right.
What people?
They released an amazing earnings report, and then Google releases Stitch, and then Figma's done. No one even knows what Stitch does.
Looking at
Stitch, it doesn't.
Looking at the chart, technically, is in a downtrend. So brace yourself.
Thank you, technical chart master.
day trader. So he's not really a structural engineer.
Let me see your Fibonacci lines.
I am structural chartist.
He's got a Mac Mini working on that one. Okay. Look, so to bring this for this data center guys coming, he's echoing a lot of what we've seen in the industry about the shortage of tradespeople being one of their biggest bottlenecks right now, specifically electricians, HVAC engineers, construction workers, and starting salaries $150,000 now in arranged for skilled trades. And all these companies are partnering with universities and trade colleges to train a new generation of construction workforce. In addition to that, you have BlackRock a few weeks ago announced the Future Builders Initiative, which is a $100 million philanthropic program aimed at training 50,000 skilled trade workers over the next 5 years. Google's pledged $50 million to expand the pipeline of electrical workers. OpenAI has committed 1.5 million to trades futures. Microsoft has identified electrical talent as some of the biggest challenges of building data centers in the US. So feels like there's going to be a lot of electricians in a few years.
My guess is that all of them, they see that these jobs is impossible to automate them. There's zero chance to automate them. So they are putting quite a lot of money into training people and understanding this environment better so that they can propose something to folks in terms of software platforms and all. I heard that in the US now hourly rate for a plumber can be up to $100 an hour.
Sorry?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you give them Legora or Harvey, they can charge you $1,000 an hour and can be your lawyer.
That's why they're all leaving, plumbers to become lawyers.
Well, this was also an Alex Karp's quote. So Alex Karp's the CEO of Palantir. For people who don't know who he is.
Yeah.
He's like, there's two types that are going to excel: the people, the tradespeople that have physical skills and build things, and then people who are neurodivergent. That's what we identified.
That's what he said.
Yeah.
Which one are you?
I'm going with neurodivergent.
He was the same guy that had a video of him walking around with I forget the lady's name from Sorcery, and he pulled out the katana sword or whatever. I was like, he's like pretending to stab something in midair whilst on like a walking documentary of Palantir.
He was definitely giving himself a compliment by using the term neurodivergent.
It's a nice. I read that it's a nice umbrella term covering conditions like autism, ADHD, dyslexia, and Tourette's.
Yeah. Yeah, interestingly, also just on Iron, just a bit about their strategy. So they power their data centers with 100% renewable electricity, apparently. And the best places to locate these data centers are in seriously remote areas. So not only do you have issues with labor workforce, of general availability, there's also the availability to bring them from wherever they live to these very remote locations. So it's no wonder that the salaries and costs for these people just goes astronomical and through the roof.
Yeah, it's the physical relocation of workforces that's really problematic.
You know, I didn't hear any of them a couple of years ago make the prediction that they would be short electricians. So I'm really finding this quite enjoyable, how when people have something to sell, they make a prediction that what they are selling is going to increase. But whenever what the predictions that they didn't make in the past is what they weren't selling. So it's sort of really funny. You know, Alex Karp is also very famous for calling Michael Burry batshit crazy for shorting Palantir, although Palantir is trading at like 100x revenue right now. I mean, I'm sure you can call that short, but or batshit crazy, but fair enough. He's also making the prediction that wars will increase. He's also making the prediction that democracy needs to be dissolved because otherwise society will crumble. And you know what's really important in all of these scenarios? Palantir software. So that's very surprising to me, right? And you know, it's when Jensen Huang says quantum computing is not that big of a deal, or it's very delayed, and you need GPU. I mean, who would have thought that someone that produces GPUs is really into that kind of an opinion?
But that's
all
your
I'm
job.
saying.
Marketing.
That's the thing. Don't pay attention to predictions when it comes with an economic interest.
Yeah, it reminds me of. Did you ever play Grand Theft Auto 5 when you could, you buy stocks? You used to buy stocks, and then you would like follow the news or the events, in the game, and then like you then go and bet all on, and then go and kill someone, and then suddenly the stock would go up really high. Yeah, I think Rockstar were ahead of their time. They saw this AI hype coming.
You could trade stocks in Grand Theft Auto?
I don't know.
Yes.
5.
Yeah, then you could fix the market as well on it as well. Go and blow up the CEO of what was it? Lifehack was the name of the company. I can't remember. LifeFace or something. It was a mockery of Facebook.
It's a shame that
God, I have a real life example that I want to share, but I don't know if I can.
We'll cut it.
Leave it out.
It's a story. It is a story. If I shared this, If I shared this, it would go very viral.
Well, only share it if you're comfortable, because someone will get hold of this if it's live. And
there's no audience anyway, so you can share it.
Should he share?
You know
we're going to peer pressure you. Okay. Let's move on. And if you suddenly decide that you want to share it, then carry on.
I could do it anonymously.
Okay. Okay. Look, I'm out of the 4 takeaways from the future CEOs. So if you want, we can go on a quick recap of Bricks, Bucks, and Bytes over the past 3 months, or whilst Dustin thinks about how he can share his story. Or we could go to Dustin's story. Where do you guys want to go?
Let's keep going.
Am I a party to the lawsuit when my face shows up in the stream? Just give me a heads up so I can switch off camera.
You could just add a disclaimer. Okay, I'll do the quarterly recap of what we discussed in Bricks and Bytes over the past 3 months. We have like 7 minutes or so till Anna joins us. So January started well. We had DataGrid, who got acquired by Procore, and then we had the Equipment Share IPO. And in the same month, we also had the announcement that Tiger Eye was being acquired by Lennar. There's not been too much press around that acquisition, actually, and I haven't been able to find out too much more. So maybe that's my quest for the next quarter.
Hey, Dustin, if you're talking, your mic doesn't seem to be working. Nope.
Yeah, Dustin, we can't hear you.
Your mic
switched off. You might have a mic switched off. Okay, now say something. No.
No, that must be the internet protecting you from that lawsuit.
Yeah, it's fake. God is on your side. Then we also had Bedrock Robotics. By the way, I think that was the most engaging episode we released this quarter, where we had Kevin from Bedrock, and we also talked about the SaaS apocalypse. There's been a lot on. Dustin, we can hear you now. By the way, there's been a lot on this. I think one of the key trends I've certainly seen through the industry is autonomous equipment within the industry. A lot of big players making announcements, lots of funding going into space, paired with demand from data centers and that kind of thing. There's a growing area of interest in the industry. They were the key things, really.
Good call.
Anyone got any other stuff that comes to their head?
I mean, I'm just seeing behind the scenes lots and lots of M&A processes going on. Not sure if all of them materialize, but
tell more.
You know, quite active.
I just saw your disclaimer. I didn't realize we should turn it.
Sorry, I have to protect myself here. When I'm on the same podcast with you, I have to be protected. I am not a party to Dustin's story, but no, but
all right, I'll give the abbreviated version of it, because you said Grand Theft Auto, and all I think is like you're just like this criminal committing all these things. So, you know, I grew up around certain people, so I've had friends that have gone to jail, and I had one friend that went to prison and actually gets out of prison and made a lot of money while he was in prison, thanks to a startup that he invested in, mine. And so, like, when he got out of jail, the guy thought he was a stock trader. And I was like, oh, dear Lord. And he lost all his money shorting Moderna during COVID.
Ouch.
Why did he short Moderna?
I don't know. I don't short the company that's solving the crisis. It's a good philosophy. I don't know. Yeah.
By the way, I'm sure Moderna is of the opinion that the next, big pandemic is just around the corner.
And RNA can kill it. Can solve it.
Yeah, we have something in the UK right now going on.
By the way, a short can be a catalyst for a great thing, because one of the triggers for Aconnex's acquisition, which is still the biggest in construction tech history, $1.2 billion, was because their stock was being shorted quite hard on the Australian Stock Exchange.
Oh, I did not know that factoid. Oh, interesting.
Great. I can't remember the specifics of the story, but we've covered it on Bricks and Bytes. And it was just for that story alone, is a great piece of content to consume.
Oh, and my story is not being the thumbnail for the next episode, by the way.
Dude, it's going to every short. Every short on this now is going to be about this story. So Patrick, you were saying M&A. Do you want to just quickly finish off your point before you?
Yeah, I think we're going to see a few transactions. Acquirers,
I know of a couple.
Active. I know you are. I know you do. But acquirers are very active. And
what type of acquirers?
Mostly software consolidators that I'm aware of. And I think it also speaks a little bit to the targets that actually enter into acquisition conversations and what they think about their own prospects.
Any particular niche of software?
So I think a lot of software, when it comes to interpreting contracts, when it comes to interpreting document repos with
so AI based.
With AI based. Also perhaps in the CAD space, a lot that could be happening. We've seen, obviously this one is public, we've seen DataGrid being acquired by Procore, so similar types of acquisitions perhaps being discussed elsewhere. So I think it's quite a good quarter for founders and for the acquirers and then the ConTech ecosystem overall. But always keep in mind also when you're not that long in the market and you're having acquisition conversations, I do also think it is a little bit of verdict on those that have insider information on that business, how they see their own futures. Probably realistically.
Which means what do they think? Do they think that the software SaaS concept in what they were doing or they are doing might no longer be standard?
It's case by case, right? But look, no one that thinks that they're going to kill the incumbent is discussing an acquisition with the incumbent for no good reason. That's right.
It's a very interesting time in that, like, you have these large institutions, companies that are looking to acquire software because they literally have no idea what's transpiring at the startup level. And so they're looking to augment their organizations. So I think it's interesting because they're just going to buy things because they don't know what to do, because they're just, it's so unfamiliar to them, and they're going to make tremendous amounts of mistakes. As an operator, it's the first time in my career where I actually find that I get no value from talking to people that have scaled things previously anymore. I want to talk to as many startups to understand nuances of what they're doing, even if they're bad companies. Patrick, we talked to one company, remember, and some of the stuff they were doing with demand generation, I thought that was fascinating.
Absolutely.
Right? And so those types of experiences for me as an operator actually make me better. And so that's why I want to personally speak to as many companies as possible, where when I started building Connected, I wanted to talk to people who had grown revenue organizations. But how you do those things today is evolving. and how you develop product today is evolving. And so
that's a paradox,
yeah, it's really weird.
I can double down on that, but is Anna already in the waiting room, Owen?
She's not, no.
Okay, then so
she is now.
Okay, then I can save it for that.
Okay, let's get Anna in. Anna,
Hi.
the lady of the moment.
Hey, Anna.
Hey, Anna.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm so excited.
How are we glad you are. So $10 million Series A, Anna. 3 weeks.
Yeah, pretty crazy.
Tell us how.
I was ready, right? I think the big key is preparedness for the raise, right? Like I had my data room locked and loaded. I wasn't building the data room as I was taking calls. It was already prepared. So I think my first week I took like 40 to 50 meetings.
Holy hell.
Yeah.
That's
I
good,
ran a full process. Yeah.
That's what's always impressed me by you. The amount of work you put in. That's amazing.
Yeah, I don't think you bring something to life like this without total brute force. So.
Yeah, and you know what was also freaking awesome? I'll let everyone ask other questions in a minute. Your fundraising announcement video was so good. And I mean this in the nicest way possible. You could tell you've done the fundraising in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
But that video is like so like I think there's like a lot of this I don't want to say weird, but I personally find it a bit strange. Like, what are these big hype videos of fundraisers and like a bit extreme? Yours was just raw, like creator style, walking through New York. We've built it, people doing construction in the background. You have a mic that you're holding, obviously one of these little ones that you can order on Amazon. And like, it was just very authentic and real. And I loved it.
Yeah, I think 10 million aside, like we're still bootstrapping this thing, right? And the blooper reel is even better. Me almost getting hit by a car like 6 times because I was just so focused on delivering the message that I was completely not aware of my surroundings, and I was just walking through the streets of New York. So it was a high risk video, but totally worth it.
I don't think your investors would have been too happy if that happened.
No, I agree with you. So it was fun.
Hey, Patrick, Dustin, you want to pose any questions for Anna?
Anna, tell us what Trade is doing.
Yeah, Trade is a construction back office operating system for specialty contractors. So we really own the end-to-end process from field to finance, right? So from employee onboarding, scheduling and dispatch, field tracking, all the way through payroll and job costing.
Very cool. And you like who, Anna, can you clarify like who you're targeting as a customer? Like what's the size of the company makeup?
Yeah, so we really target field teams. So the specialty trades, the plumbers, carpenters, painters, electricians, concrete shops, demolition, anyone that has, we love man in a van, 25 people shops, all the way up to field teams of 1,500. But this is, really curated to the trades, hence the name.
Anna, you don't know this, but I'm actually leaving here because I'm going to a specialty contractor that does concrete, and they've asked me to join the board. So, yeah.
Can I join the board too?
No, you're going to have to sell me. But what inspired you to start this? Because like the back office for specialty contractors is not something that a lot of people find, let's just use the word exciting.
Yeah, I don't know if the biggest problems are exciting, but they're real. And so for me, I had a vantage point into how many people were disrupted by these inefficiencies, right? I was able to see firsthand experience, not only in my dad's back office, but in so many of like my extended family members and my construction uncles, right? That their back office was slowing them down and actually really hurting their bottom line. If they're not able to see a true view of the field and really understand what their operating costs are every single day, how are they going to make the right business decisions? So for me, it was kind of personal. It was a little bit of a vendetta of like, how can we make this better for a lot of people that I directly care about? And then, as I saw how big this market was, that was exciting for me as a founder, right? It's like, I knew I was going to make a direct impact for a handful of people. And that was enough for me to get started. And then the deeper I've gotten, I've said this before, like I'm more convicted now on trade than I was when I started, because, I have back office admins calling me saying, like, I just took my first vacation in 10 years. Thank you. Right? Like, that's real world impact. People not being able to leave their on-prem servers, right? And being beholden to weekly pay cycles, right? As soon as you run payroll and process the reports, you're basically running payroll again for the next week because it takes so many days, right? On trade, you're running payroll in 27 minutes or less.
So what's the plan now? Where this 10 million will take you?
Across the country. I think we've been really, really concentrated in the Northeast, and this capital will allow us to expand nationally. So that's number one. Double down on the right strategic hires at this stage, knowing what we want to build, and then continuing to advance the product, go deeper on these workflows. Especially in the age of AI, vertical workflows are key. Being deeply, deeply embedded in someone's day-to-day is what's going to create that moat around these systems. And so just building every button and every page and feature with as much intention as possible.
Anna, how did you fall upon like the features that you provide? Like, just looking at your website here, it's quite specific in terms of I'll just list it off here: HR, people management, scheduling, dispatch, labor and field tracking, payroll. Like, it also seems quite I don't know if the right term is limited, but what we see in this space of people targeting these companies is like they can be all in one suite. So they offer what you offer, but also everything else that goes into a construction project they provide, that this software provider will provide. Why have you kind of kept it quite narrow, maybe?
Yeah, it's very intentional, right? It comes from the insight that in order to run perfect payroll in construction, you need to know who's working, where they're working, and what they're working on. So the modules actually round out who's on staff, right? Like who's hired and brought on board, where are they dispatched that day, and when they're on site, what activities are they doing? Ultimately, all of that information in the field rolls back into payroll, right? In construction, someone can make multiple rates in a day, depending if it's a union project, if there's a prevailing wage requirement, if it's a school building, like everything changes, right? Whether someone's operating one type of machine or a different type of machine, there can be surcharges applied to their rates. And so if there is disconnect field to payroll is going to be wrong. And so our platform may seem limited, but it's like hyper focused on labor accounting.
And you might or might not know this, but we have a little bit of a cross episode running gag here between being probabilistic versus being deterministic, being almost all the time right versus being all the time right, but perhaps less efficient or less creative. In payroll, are you being forgiven if you're being wrong once?
No.
Happy to say.
Like if we are week over week, if we are like 99.7% accurate, and we track this, by the way, this is a key metric for us. We call it payroll health. We're off by 0.03%. We failed that week. Like there is literally no room for error in payroll, which is why like agentic payroll just isn't a thing yet, right? And won't be for a very long time. You have to have complete control over that. And if $1 or a cent is off, and then that wage is reported to the government on a prevailing wage project, the fines and penalties are in the tens of thousands, right? It could be conceived as wage theft. And so like trade is so much more than just payroll. It is like the truest form of compliance. And so like there is just literally no room for error.
Companies literally have to submit certified payroll all the time.
We have companies that are submitting 50 to 100 certified payroll reports a week.
Wow.
It's insane. The volume is insane. And they're reporting it to multiple different agencies. There's like LCP Tracker, EMARS, Elations, eComply. They keep adding new agencies, right? And these contractors are like falling below the surface trying to keep up simply on compliance.
You need to create your agent submitter, though. Just push it to LCP Tracker and all the other ones.
That's a good idea, Dustin.
It also sounds like the record you want to be the system of. So that's a really nice spot you're in.
So you don't have. We've been kind of joking today on this episode before you join Anna about Mac Minis and how many the teams have these days, and whether you're running agents to manage payroll. My guess is that based on what you said, you haven't quite got there yet.
No, there's no agents running payroll, but there are definitely robots that are cleaning tickets while we sleep and making optimizations to the platform. There's no days off anymore, right? In the age of AI, we can move so much faster and so much smarter, and trades online around the clock at this point.
How big's the team now?
We're 27 people today. We have a ton of open roles across every single department. We have 9 open roles to be specific, but we've seen pretty incredible growth over the last 6 months. So hiring to support it.
Yeah. Nice. But Martin, you can ask something?
Yes, Anna. So this reduced average weekly processing time of payroll from 14 hours to 27 minutes or so. How do people take that? Does it mean they need to expect a lot of changes within the organization in terms of change processes, or how? Maybe you can explain how is it possible that from 14 hours to you can collapse this time to 7 minutes?
Well, when you think about it, before trade, back office teams are receiving stacks of pen and paper sign-in sheets that they then need to translate into Excel. In Excel, they're applying all of the special rates that I was mentioning before, right? And then they're moving that into antiquated payroll systems that inevitably crash, right? And so that's a 12 to 14 hour process, 1 to 2 full days. So there's a lot of relief on the time savings back. It creates more space for back office teams to focus on revenue generating activities instead. And so I think in general, there's always fear of change. I won't deny that. I think change management is a big part of what we have to overcome, both in our sales cycle and in the implementation process. But when people feel it and feel the new flow, they get very excited. Yeah.
How are you? Is there a way to partner with some of like Kojo, for example, who we've had on, Maria?
Yeah, absolutely. I actually just met Micah a couple of weeks ago at an event in New York City. There's a ton of synergy there, and we actually do already have customer overlap. So I think that's something we're going to explore this year.
Cool. I have one last one, unless anyone else wants to go before me. Maybe you're not the right person to ask. I don't know, Anna, but is Y Combinator good for construction tech companies?
Ooh.
I am so glad you asked that.
You're live.
I'm live. So YC for us was invaluable in fundraising, right? I give all the credit in the world. They were my first check-in after 150 pitches. And so I'm not sure trade would be here if not for YC. So all the credit there. Construction tech is a different beast. And from a product and a distribution standpoint, it's different than, AI for law firms, right? And so I think you need to come to the table with a bit of founder market fit to maximize that program. I'm forever grateful for YC. And I think from a fundraising and a network perspective, it's unmatched. Construction tech, though, it needs a layer on top.
Yeah, that's a great answer. Yeah, makes complete sense. Okay, Anna, thank you so much. Congratulations once again.
Thank you. Thank you.
We'll see more of you.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Great to see you guys.
All right, take care. Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
Nice. Okay, well, I think we need to wrap up. Or Dustin, you're gonna.
I have to take off.
Yeah, you have to go. So, cool. Okay, guys, thank you. Enjoy your week, and we'll be back next week. We have a few announcements next week. Yeah.